Sorry to interrupt. I
Yes, no
just
worries.
tried the question and I didn't get still.
Okay. Um, Let me just have a quick look. Which is your post?
Uh, I think
Is it
let me share. Let me share the link of this post.
okay? Yeah, if you put the link of your post,
Yeah, yeah. That
I can
I'm posting.
have a look. I mean, you can use help of your friends as well. See what they might be able
Uh,
to.
Or can we share the screen and you can see the code, like what is
I
wrong with
could see the code, but
because as you said, increase the day by one. We tried with both, like we increase the date, the answer is same. When we decrease the date, even the answer is same. On the same date, still we are getting the same answer, which is wrong actually.
yeah. So then typically that means that the filtering itself is the issue.
um, this is the post I'm shared in
Yes.
the chat box.
Yes. Let's see here. Yeah, I have seen the post. Okay. All right. I won't solve it right now. Um,
Okay.
but what I'll do is once this session is complete, then I'll have a look through and see what comes up on our end.
Okay.
Okay, because we have a script that we run as well, right? So
Or can you suggest like what could be the wrong in filtering? What
you
could be
typically,
the wrong? What usually people do wrong in the filtering so that we can have an idea like where we have done or whether we have done the same mistakes or what we can we do. Because today is the
yeah,
last date, so we have to
yeah.
rectify today only.
Yeah. So usually, one of the things that we have found is, for example, in the size filtering, we found that people, I think some systems they use block sizes instead of bytes. So that will give you a wrong answer. That's one type of issue that comes up. Um, then the other problem that sometimes crops up is when it's filtering on the dates, it will filter only the dates that are not this year. So it will filter all the dates that are of previous years. Because if you actually look at the LS listing, what comes out of the LS listing is, if you look in the date column, you will have dates and time, but for the current year, there won't be any year in there. There will only be a date and a hour. So sometimes that causes an issue as well. So those are some potential avenues of errors.
Okay.
Right. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second session for TDS. And today we'll be covering um, uh, mostly all the things from week 1 to week 2, um, or rather week 0 to week 2. But we'll be focusing mainly on week 2. I know that GA 0 has passed, so initially I'll quickly go over that and uh, the difficult ones, not the very easy ones, so that we can see or learn something through that. Okay. So let me share the screen. Okay, that here. Share screen. Right. So is my screen visible? Okay, great. Thanks, Monica. Right. So GA 0. So did you all have any issues with the GA 0? How did you do on GA 0 generally? Some audible responses would be good so that the session is interactive.
Yeah, no, yeah, no issue, no issue.
Yeah. The JSON question I couldn't do. Then the private secret message before a question. So
Right. So question 5, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So the way we typically go about this is we look at the inspect dev tools. So I'm using Chrome. It may be different on other browsers, but this is what we recommend generally. Use Chrome because it's, I'd say, the de facto industry standard for this sort of stuff. Okay. I'm not saying others are not good, but we recommend this. So the question is, how do you make sure? So how do you? Let's make sure. So it says just above this paragraph, right, which is this bit here, uh, and after the heading. So somewhere in between here is some hidden element. So how do we find that is what's being asked. So one of the ways we can use the dev tools is we say right click and I said inspect and it brings up this sort of window. And then there is this little icon in this corner. Okay, it helps you to select things on the page. And we know that what's being asked is just before this particular paragraph. Okay. The reason we asked this is so that we wanted to see if you have an understanding of HTML. So my question is, the first question is, do you understand how HTML and how web pages work? Who was it who asked the question?
Yeah, I had asked Sandeep here.
Sandeep. Sandeep. Okay, yeah, Sandeep.
Yeah.
So, are you aware of how HTML and all the
Very
normal?
superficially right now. Yeah,
Okay,
I know the
okay,
header, paras, all those elements are there. We have to write stuff
sure,
in that.
sure. So, if you notice, I highlighted this and I click on it. Okay, as soon as I click on it, you will notice that this got highlighted here. So the reason this got highlighted is, and as you can see, as I move up and down, different elements are getting highlighted, right? So when I use this button and I clicked on this paragraph, it highlights what this points to in the DOM. So DOM means document object model. Okay. So that is what all HTML pages have. So there is a model or a document object model that is used to create this web page. And in there are some elements. So this is pointing to the paragraph element. So you can see there's the paragraph that we are looking at. And there's a heading as well, right? So which is this dev tools. So that's this over here. So you can see I've used dev tools. So there's a header tag there and there's a paragraph tag. But in between, there is a hidden element. So that would be this tag, right? And you can see this hidden element. If you notice between the tags, this is the tag between the angle bracket and the slash angle bracket. There is an element here, 4B F8 780, but it's not shown on here. Okay, so that's what the hidden element was. So, and the reason it's not visible is because they've used some styling to obviously hide it. So that's
Ah,
why
I
it's
we
not.
saw that. Due to these numbers and all, I thought the quotation was Q5 as message is the element they is being asked or something. So I
So
could get
this,
to that line. That okay.
yeah. So this is an element. It's not hidden, right? H2, that's an element. P is an element. They are not hidden because it's displayed. It's this one, right? The div over here that is not been displayed.
Okay,
So
so
that's
expected
the
answer was the 4BC data dash till E. Only that
yeah,
text
yeah.
was
If
the
I put
expected
here,
answer.
yeah. So if I put four, we'll check it out. 4 BCF8
Okay.
because I solved it a long time ago, so I don't remember if that's correct or not. Let's see. 4BCF8 780. I think that's right. Let's see. Yeah, so I scored one, so that must be correct, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that was that one. Um, did you all manage to do this bit, the Python code? Anyone had difficulty?
Yes. No code ran, but I think the answer did not match. I My answer was 186 or something.
Okay. So,
Could be something wrong.
okay, yeah. I mean, again, this was just to test. Do you have basic understanding? Find the course very difficult if you don't, if you're not able to use Python. So we can quick. It's not a difficult program. It's a very straightforward and simple program. So the first thing, of course, you will need a edit. Sorry, some place to run your code. So we highly recommend using VS Code. You can use Google Colab, but there are some advantages to using VS Code over Google Colab. That that's the reason we recommend it. So we'll just quickly, I'll quickly show you the workflow of how I go about it. So normally when you start up VS Code, there are some little more extra setup work that's required compared to Google Colab. So this is where Google Colab has the advantage, which is libraries are already installed and environments are disposable in Google Colab, and you don't have to worry about those issues. But in VS Code, we do have to do a little bit of setup work. Okay, but it's worth doing it and knowing how to do it. So the first thing I usually do is I create a virtual environment. So the way I got to that menu, I'll just show you. I on my system I use Command Shift P. It might be Control Shift P for Windows, but you have to check. So it's this is called the command palette. I bring it up, and then you can see a Python create environment. So I select that, and then I create a virtual environment, VNVO here. So that's what I choose. And then I choose the latest version of Python that I want to run. And that's it, it creates it. But before you start all this, you have to open a folder, okay? It will be like your working folder in which all this will happen. So right now I'm using the TDS week 2 folder to do this. And you notice there's a little folder that's been created. This is your virtual environment. So why create virtual environments and not run Python code directly? That's because you will need some libraries. And whenever you import libraries to run your Python code, mm, sometimes the libraries may have some bugs in them. And the problem comes when if you install these libraries directly on your system, then you may break something. And this has happened to me in the past when I was a novice coder. And it was very difficult to find out what the issue was. And eventually I ended up having to reinstall a large part of my system just because of it. So it was very painful. So after that, I learned my lesson and realized the best thing ever are these virtual environments. Why? Because you can install the libraries on here. You can do whatever damage you want over there with whatever you're programming. And then they're disposable. If there is a problem, you just get rid of this directory, this .venv. If you delete this directory, all the problems go away and you can reinstall all the necessary things back on them. So that's why always work with a virtual environment. Okay.
But this that we will be still on the system, no? Our local system.
It is on the system, but everything you install will not be on your system folders. It will
Understood.
be it will be in this directory. It won't affect your actual computer. It will only be within this folder. It's very local to this folder,
Okay.
right? So let's say, for example, I open another project, okay? Because that's typically what we do, right? We have several projects. So I open a folder and let's say create a new project, some week 3 maybe, TDS or something. And this is my new working folder. So now I can do the same thing here. Create the virtual environment, right? It creates this folder, but these two are different. The libraries I install here may be buggy and broken, but it will not affect the project I'm working on here. If you do not have this virtual environment, you will be installing libraries directly into your computer. And that's where all the pain comes, because once you put it on your main system, if there are bugs or issues, it's very painful to sometimes extricate the problem. Okay, so that's why working in this manner is very good. Right, so close
But in
this.
this case, will our code file be also in virtual environment? Then we'll lose out on the file. No?
Sorry, say that again.
Our code,
Hmm.
not libraries, but our code will also be in virtual environment. No, then we
No,
may.
no,
Uh,
no, no. Your code will run independent of the virtual environment. So what happens is, I'll show you now.
okay.
I'll create a file, and it's not inside the VENV folder. Okay, this is where your code will reside, outside the virtual environment, because your code doesn't do anything, right? It's just a piece of program that you're running. So in this case, we are solving the Wednesday problem. So let's say Wednesday.py, and notice I can now. So let's see if this works. And hello, usually the case, right? So I ran the program and it worked. Yeah, no issues. Now what I can do is I can delete this virtual environment. Okay, but my code is still here. That has not been affected. So whatever project work I'm doing, no issues. But the libraries have been destroyed. The any libraries that I might have installed on the virtual environment, because maybe let's say there was a problem with one of the libraries I imported. So all I have to do now is just recreate that environment. But the code doesn't get damaged. The one that you have written. See, so it comes back there. So
Okay, but
as simple.
our code file and virtual environment has two different things. So how does our code use the libraries from a different folder? Will they
Okay.
still interact?
Yeah. So your code doesn't. So when you're running a program, what happens is this is like you can think of this as a service that is provided to your code. Okay. Your code will need some libraries that you import. Okay. So for example, if I do import pandas as okay. Now if I try and run this, okay, there's going to be an error that comes up. That's because the library has not been installed yet. So that's what the issue is. Okay, that library has not been installed. This pandas library is not there. Okay, so how do I fix that issue? So uh, I go to the terminal here. You can see that says terminal over here. So it's in this folder. We are working in this folder. I say pip install pandas. Okay, so it installs the pandas library, and once it's done installing, right, it's stored in this .venv, the library that I just imported. Okay, now if I run this code, I mean, there's nothing to do in this, so it's not going to do anything. So if I say, yeah, let's df equal to pd dot, I think it's called data frame, yeah. So let's make a new data frame. Right. So I've done that. So now I've installed pandas in this virtual environment. If I hit play, it works. You see, because I installed pandas and it's in this virtual environment. Now imagine something. So let's imagine pandas sent a new update, and that update had some bugs in it. Okay, and it's causing all sorts of havoc with your project. So guess what I can do? I can just delete this folder. But notice, nothing has happened to my code. All my work is still here only, right? But I can just once again recreate the virtual environment. So so before I recreate it, now if I try to run this, right, it's not going to work. See, there's an error, right? It's trying to find the library, but it can't find the library.
Yes. Yes.
So that's how it works. It's disposable. That's the beauty of it. The virtual environment is disposable, but it doesn't affect your files. And it's quick and easy to fix any issues that you have when you have a virtual environment. So always do this. Right? So virtual environment created, it's still not going to work. Why? Because there's no pandas in there. This is a completely new virtual environment. So I'll have to install pandas again. Install pandas. And this time it's much faster. The reason is it has cached it somewhere. You can choose what version of pandas you want to install. So I just choose the latest one. But if you're having bugs or issues, or if your code was designed to run with some previous version, then what we typically do, okay, I mean, this is things that are taught to you in MAD 1, but what I'll show you what we do. So if I do pip freeze, I don't know if you can see, I'm typed pip freeze at the bottom. Notice these things over here. Is that visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this is, so when I say pip freeze, it's actually saying what was installed in the virtual environment. Initially, none of these things would have been there. But when I installed pandas, pandas then did not just install itself. Okay, it installed a bunch of other things that it depends on. So it installed the numpy library, it installed this dateutil library, all these libraries it installed. And notice there are some numbers next to it. So this is the version that has been installed in this virtual library. So that's what this pip freeze tells us. Okay. So then the question is, okay, I create my project, I do my code, everything works great. I've spent a month or two working on this project, and I updated some library. Okay, and there is a problem. Now, how do I know which version was it working on? That's a common develop. They call it developer hell, right? Where something has changed in version, and nobody knows what it is, but the project is not working anymore. Okay, this actually does happen in even in the projects that we do as part of the diploma in programming. Okay, where students have submitted their project, a month passes by, the viva comes, and then they're supposed to download the code from the repository where they put it and run it on their system, and it doesn't work now. And they will say, but it used to work before. Uh, so how do we fix that issue? So imagine this code now. We'll just run this code, okay? Make sure it's working. Play. Yeah. Okay. So the code works, right? So now our project is working, everything's fine, we're happy with it. How do I capture this fact that these are the things that are uh, on the system, and how do I recover it? So the way we do it is we say pip freeze, and then we use this little arrow to the right. This is actually a Linux command, and what it is saying whatever the output of this pip freeze is, put it into a file. So in this case, we call it the requirements.txt file. Okay, notice suddenly a file has appeared, requirements.txt, and there it is. All the things that were shown here tells you exactly what version it was used for that. So then the question becomes, if say for example this VNV folder gets destroyed, right? But at least we still have the requirements.txt, right? And then the question becomes, how do we uh, install those same libraries back again, right? And so the way we do that is we use the requirements.txt file. Just give me a second here. Okay, and then we say pip install. Oh, right. Before I do pip install, I have to create the virtual environment, right? Never work on the directly on the system. So create a new virtual environment. So our previous one was buggy, something went wrong, all that sort of thing. And oh, this is interesting. So VS Code already recognizes there's a requirements.txt file. So I can just say, hey, yeah, by the way, when you're creating the virtual environment, pick up this file as well. And amazing, it does it automatically. So that's how you recover the exact version of when your program was working of all the libraries that were involved. And so let's have a look. If that's what has indeed happened. Yeah, it's the same things that were there before. So that's how you do it. Okay, I hope this is very useful. So that's why I thought I'll spend a little bit of time explaining this. I know for some of you this is pretty straightforward and you have done it in Mad One. But for those of you that don't know, I thought I'll just demonstrate that. Okay, great. Let's get back to our initial problem, which is how to count the Wednesdays, right? So, uh, where is the oh, there it is. Okay. So write a program to count the number of Wednesdays between these two dates. Okay. And what is that? Include both days. Okay. Right. So anyone want to suggest how we go about doing that? So clearly we will need some date and time, right?
Can I share my screen if you allow?
Yeah, of course.
If, okay.
Let me stop sharing now.
Okay.
Stop presenting. Okay, yeah.
Okay. It's visible.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So this line 26. This is the code I had written. I had imported date time, and
Okay. So
so the dates are from the question I had. I mean, that I think that changes with every reload. So
yeah, of course, but the code will be the same. So
correct.
that's no issues. Yeah.
Correct. So,
Okay. So we have K is the start. Okay. Less than equal to the end date. Okay. Then weekday. Yeah. So you're extracting what the current weekday is. Okay. The number, is that correct?
yeah, for
What day is it for? Tuesday, is it?
Wednesday. For my question it was Wednesday. So
Okay. So there's the first mistake. So weekday equal to 3 is not a Wednesday.
0, 1, 2, 3. No, Sunday starts with zero. No, I
Sorry?
had tried. Sunday starts with a zero.
Do you want to check? Have you checked the code?
Yes, yes. Top you can see. I checked for a particular day. Six number was given for 22nd September of this. I mean last month. There is another option. Wednesday can become two also. If you start Sunday with one. So
Okay. So 22nd of September. What is it?
22nd September 24.
So your number is coming out as 6.
6.
And you were expecting.
I was expecting a zero. I
Yeah.
think.
So
Yeah,
there's the
Sunday.
mistake, right? You found the
Okay.
mistake, right?
Okay. Okay.
Right. So that's the mistake. Rest of it
Okay.
looks okay.
Okay.
Let's scroll down a little bit just so that we see. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's so one improvement you can also do is as soon as it finds the first Wednesday. I mean, this
Okay.
is just a optimization. So you don't
Okay.
have to count every single day, right? As soon as you
Yeah.
find the first Wednesday, then you can jump by 7 days each time. So you can see.
Right. Right.
But that's a minor you'll get the same answer, the correct answer.
Understood. We can reduce iterations. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of
Okay.
going, but that was the mistake. Okay.
Understood. Understood.
Okay, great. Does everyone understand the code that is written there? Sorry, just please, if you could just show that back again.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Okay. Does everyone understood the code that is there? So you can see that he started with the start date as K and the end date. So while it's less than the start date. Okay, thanks. And then he's checking if the correct weekday is being selected. But of course, the error here was he's chosen the wrong number for the weekday. But apart from that, he's counting them if it's the correct weekday. and then he's increasing k by 1 day at a time in this case, which is fine. It's not an issue. And then he's printing out how many Wednesdays have been counted. So that's how you solve this problem. Is that okay for everyone? Anyone has any doubts, please? You can let us know right now. Okay, I'll assume everyone's understood how that works. Thanks, Sandeep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so let's go back to,
JSON related question I had asked another.
hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes. No audible. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, temporarily I had lost internet connection, so I
Okay,
apologize.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let me close this. Right, so Wednesday, so we know how to deal with that. The next thing was, so this is also not very difficult. Are you guys familiar with JSON and how that works?
No, that's why I couldn't attempt it.
Okay. So, so let me do this. If I show, okay. So typically, a JSON will have a certain structure, and it works just like a dictionary key pair. So pick this up. So this is typically what a JSON looks like, okay? And if you want to see the specification for JSON, there is a site talks about the JSON specification. This is actually worth. It's not very difficult. It's something just worth looking at. Mm, not this one. Let me see if it is this. Okay. So it typically looks like this. Okay, it's basically like a dictionary, and there can also be, as you notice here, lists also. Okay, this looks like a Python list, right? So these are generally what uh, is there in a JSON. It's a key value pairs. So there is a key and there is some value to it. So in this case, links is the key and then the value is another dictionary. Okay. And then within that, again, there are some keys. So this is how they typically work. And if you look at this one, here the key is data and then it's got a list this time. And this list is not sure where it ends. It ends over here. So that's another key, and this time the value is a list, and inside the list it's a list of dictionaries, right? So there's one dictionary, and then there is another key value pair, so like that. And the way you extract it is exactly how you would in Python, okay, with JSON. So uh, in this case, we have this list and it's got these dictionaries and there are key value pairs inside those dictionaries, name and age. And we are supposed to sort these out. So anybody wants to talk me through how you would go about doing that? Anyone would like to share how they would solve this particular question? At least give me some ideas. What did you use? I mean, you all solved J0, right? So if you can explain to me and to others what you did to solve this.
Yeah, actually, in my case, I solve by hand. I don't write any code. Such thing.
Okay, so that might work for GA0, but the purpose of GA0 was not to try and solve by hand, right? I mean, it was not graded also, right? So there was no marks involved. It was basically to show where you might need some uh, improvement in your skills, right? So that was the purpose. So if you solved by hand, then what if there were 1,000 of them, right? Because that's what might come in an ROE, right? There may be 1,000 of these entries. How would you solve it then, right? So we need some
Yeah, so
programmatic way to deal with it. Yeah. So
the
anyone
data
else?
is very small, so okay.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. So anyone else?
Okay, so though it's a JSON, we can treat it like normal list in Python, list of dictionaries.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and then it's I think pretty straightforward in Python.
Yes. So you want to give it a try? Tell me how you would go about it.
I forgot the question. I think.
Yeah. So basically, the question is
Okay.
sort these objects. So these objects that are there inside it,
Oh,
sort them by age.
ish,
Then
yeah.
if there is a type, sort them by name.
No, okay. It will lead to iterations. I think. First, just sort the things by age, and wherever age is similar, then we'll have to
Yeah. So
sort
what
by
I'm going to
name.
do is, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. Okay. So this is another thing I can show you in VS Code. So you all are quite probably used to Google Colab, right? Because it's very convenient because those are Jupyter notebooks basically. But guess what? You can do the same in VS Code as well. So I'm going to call this JSON sort dot, and this extension is important. IPYNB. Okay. So this tells VS Code that this is a Jupyter notebook. So now you will get code and markdown cells, just like in your Google Colab. Only one difference is, okay, it will still use this virtual environment that we have already created in this folder, and but we have to select a kernel, okay, to run it. So in this case, I select kernel, say Python environment, and I select the virtual environment as its kernel. Great. Now it is ready. Okay. So the first thing is we have this data. I'll copy this, put it in here, and I'll call this what name data or something. Let's see. Let's see who's here on the. So there's Himanshu. Okay, Himanshu. So right. I'll call this Himanshu's data. Okay. Right. So Himanshu has gone around and collected all this data for us, and we now need to sort this in age order. Okay, great. I'll just press play, make sure our notebook is working. So it's saying, okay, it wants to install this Python kernel. So let's do that, because the reason it does this is because it's a notebook. Okay? So it's just getting in all the information that requires to get it to work. And just like with Google Colab, there's a little tick. So that shows that it's working. Okay, great. In fact, we can print that and see if that works. So yeah, so there it is. So that works fine. Great. Okay, so the next thing is to try and sort it, right? So what Python function would you normally use? Any guesses?
In short function,
Yeah, so sorted would be a good function, right? So let's do that. So let's say sorted data or something like that. And then we'll use the function sorted, and we will put Himanshu data in there. And then so the way the sorted function works is you have to give it a key on which to sort it. Okay. So in this case, the key we'll give it a lambda function. So lambda function is an anonymous function in Python. You would have learned it in Python. And what we're saying is, as you go through each of these items, we want, so we'll call it X, each of the items in this list. But in the list, we want you to look at the age attribute. Okay? So we want to sort it on age. But is that enough? If we just sort it on age? What was the question?
No, no. Also, we need to sort by name.
Yeah. So if there is a tie, then sort by name as well, right? So the beauty of the sorted function, the beauty of the sorted function is you can give more than one key. So it will choose, so it will, the priority will be left to right, right? So first it will sort on age, and then we can sort on name, right? So the name would be X, and then we put name. So now what it would do is it would sort on that second attribute as well. But now because there are two of them, we would have to put it in a bracket. Right. So it will first sort on age, and if there is a tie, it will sort on name. And it tells you about it here in the help also. Okay, great. So was there any other things that it requires? Okay, right. And I think that's it, right? Oops, where's
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so we'll run this, see what happens. I sorted the data. Now, I think, wasn't there one more requirement? I think there was another requirement in there. All right, so let's print. So it says paste without any spaces or new lines. Okay, let's see what actually came out. Okay, so if I say sorted data, okay, so it did a great job, I think. See, so you can see it started with 0. This was a tie. And what did it do? It put Jack first and Oscar next. So that's good. Emma and Paul, it put Emma first, Paul next. So it sorted first on age and it sorted on name. Okay, great. But there is a space here. So we could manually do this, but if there are thousands of entries, we wouldn't want to do that, right? So we need to fix that. Paste, yeah. So we need to fix this issue. So how do we fix that? So there are a couple of ways, right? We could,
There are strip. I think some function strip.
yeah, we
It,
could use strip, but there is a risk with strip, which is if there were some legitimate spaces in the name, then they'll also disappear, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
So, so I'll show you a little trick, okay? So this, we want actually the JSON, right? So there is a library called JSON. Okay, this is a useful library. It creates a JSON basically. And then what we'll do, so there are different forms of JSON. Okay, so this is a normal form of JSON where it puts the spaces and all that sort of thing. But there is also one more issue with this data, if you've noticed. This is not actually JSON. Can you tell me why this is not JSON? Compare this with this. What's the difference? Do you notice? Come on, you guys should tell me now. What's the difference?
Spaces only.
No, something else.
No, I think
Uh,
the string
tab,
like thing
the tab.
Yes, very good. Yes, yes. So if we look back here, do you notice how these are
string. Yeah.
have a quotes, right? Double quote.
Double quotes and single quotes.
Yeah. So there are no single quotes here in a JSON, right? So this is, so that's one key difference, right? So this is not a JSON. This is a sorted list, correct? It's a dictionary list, correct? It's a Python list and a Python dictionary, but it's not a JSON. We fed it a JSON, but it has given us a sorted list and data. So we have to actually make this into a JSON, right? So that's why we need this. So we import JSON, And then the next thing we do is we convert it into a JSON. So we want it to be a JSON without spaces. So I'll call it uh, JSON without spaces or something. Okay. And then we use this function called JSON dumps. So what it does is it takes an argument. In this case, we are taking, I think it's called sorted data. Yeah. So we're taking sorted data. And then what we are saying is in this sorted data, we want the separators, okay, to be a comma, because you can specify what kind of separators you want. So that's fine. But the more important thing is we don't want spaces also, right? So we want to remove the spaces that are coming over here. So that's what I want. I just want the colon. So these are going to be the only separators. There will be commas and there'll be colons, but there should be no spaces. So you see, I've given it without spaces. Okay, great. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the function worked fine. So let's see what it looks like. I know that's ironic. I've written W spaces, right? It should be without spaces. That's okay, no worries. Look at that. Now this is exactly what we are looking for. A JSON without spaces, without end lines. So this is exactly what we wanted. So
But how
now,
do we know? We have given two separators. So which one is first? Which one is second? That's just built into.
sorry, could you repeat that again, please?
We have given two separators, comma and the colon.
Yeah.
So how
So
did we identify where to use comma and where to use colon?
because JSON is structured this way, right? So it has a
Okay.
predefined structure. So it won't change the order or anything. It will follow whatever the convention is, but but the difference is we have said we want it without spaces, right? We said when you see the separator and you're using the separator, you only put the comma. If I did with space, and you can try that. Notice the spaces come now. Do you notice?
Okay.
I put a space
But
there.
yeah.
Now the
But here
spaces
if we
come.
change the order, like first put colon and then comma, will still appropriately place them or
Yes, I think so. We can give it a
okay.
try. I don't know for sure, but I think it will.
Okay.
Let's try. It shouldn't change anything because JSON still has to work correctly, right? Oh, yeah, the order matters. Good catch.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
So obviously we have to use it this way then. Whoops.
Comma first and okay.
It might be in the. It might be in the default is comma colon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does say that over here. Okay.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
in the documentation. But good catch. Nice question.
Yeah.
Sir, sir, how does you open the like a Google Colab interface?
Uh, you're talking about in this VS Code.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the way I do that is when you say new file, okay, whatever file it is. So sorry, who asked the question?
Sir Vivek.
Vivek. Okay, yeah. So so when I'm creating a new file, okay, so let's say it's Vivek, okay, and I'm going to give it an extension. So if I do
Yes.
py, that's a Python file, right?
Yes.
But if you want Google Colab or not Colab, it's called a Jupyter notebook actually.
Yes.
So even in Google Colab, that's a Jupyter notebook that's actually running. So it's IPYNB. I have to give it this extension.
Oh, yeah.
Then it will be a Jupyter notebook. See, I can put code, I can put
Yeah,
markdown.
yeah. That thing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I could, for example, do this heading. Oops. Right. So this is markdown now. See,
Yes.
and
Yes,
that's
sir.
code over here. So yeah, so
Yes,
that's
I
how it
got it.
works. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
that extension is important. Put the
Hmm.
extension.
Yes.
Right. So okay, so let's run this one more time. Oops. So there is one. So this is another advantage I want to point out. Okay, Google Colab. If you lose internet connection or your browser crashes, you lose all your work, right? In terms of what cells were executed, any files you uploaded, because sometimes you work with data that you upload into the Colab, right? But you lose all that, right? Whereas here, you don't have that issue at all, right? It's completely running local. So even if your internet is not working, this will still work, right? You can still do all your work. So that's another advantage, the fact that it's local to your machine. Right, so let's copy this and paste it and see if it works in our assignment. Here, let's check answers. Hey, so see, we didn't have to do any manual calculation, right? You all agree that this is a better way to solve it, yeah? No responses. You think
Yeah,
manual is
yeah,
better?
Yes,
it's better.
yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
Better assignment.
Right. So that's all it is. It is a very simple program. I put the data in here. I mean, it doesn't have to be this way manually, but this is an example, right? So basically, you get the data, you use sorted. You learned that you can use this function with a key, and the key is generated using a lambda function, which goes through this list, picks up these items, and then it sorts it and outputs sorted data. And then we made it into a JSON. And you understood what the difference is between this, which is a list and a dictionary, and an actual JSON. Okay, great. Right. So now the next. So that was okay. So what about this one? CSS selectors. Did you all manage to do this?
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
No problem.
Um,
I did not.
I
I
did
was
not
on.
do CSS
If you
HTTP
can
or
explain this,
something.
it will be good actually.
Okay, sure. So there are a couple of
Just
ways.
one question before that. I mean, one question requires Excel 365 only, I think. Advanced Excel. I mean,
Uh,
so I'm using Linux. So LibreOffice doesn't have exactly the same functions as the Excel has.
so there is a
So
free version of Excel.
yeah, I did that then. I mean, I opened up an
Okay,
account on Microsoft and used that one. Yeah.
okay, yeah, that yeah. If you
Okay.
use that, it works. I've tried it on the free version.
Okay.
So
But even Microsoft, that online public Excel doesn't give all the features. So I hope we are
yeah,
restricting our assignment questions to the whatever can be obtained using that free
we
version.
yeah.
I mean, in future of the course.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we have actively tried to do is move to open source tools wherever we can. The reason we
Okay.
still show Excel is because there are some actually, well, first of all, Excel is widely used even in very small businesses. So that's one reason. The second reason is Excel does have some pretty amazing tools that are not easily replicated in the other tools that are available. And you will see that as the course progresses. But as far as questions go, we generally will not ask you graded questions that requires the paid version of Excel. So from that perspective, you don't have to worry. But with regards to showing you what can be achieved with it, we still feel it's a worthy thing to know, because at least you will be aware that, wow, you can do this thing with Excel. And that's worth knowing.
Yes, yes. But the one of our modules is going to be scraping data into Excel and all those things. Hopefully, those are also available on that public
Yeah. So there,
Excel
what we have done is that's in week 2. What we have done there is we have given you an alternative, right? We have shown how to do it with the Google Sheets.
sheets. Okay, okay,
You
fine.
guys, so here we import HTML into Google Sheets, and so that's scraping using Google Sheets, right?
Okay, okay,
So this was introduced last term because of this exact same reason. We want
okay,
to students to be able to use open source tools wherever it's available.
okay, okay.
But we have kept the Excel because it is kind of a industry de facto standard that you will find wherever you go. So
Yes, yes, sure.
it's still worth knowing about it. So that's why Anand has provided it, because his goal is with TDS is to give you guys, well, to make you guys industry ready. And uh, most of the things that you will learn in diploma for data science, uh, they will be very theoretical and have limited value on its own. But here our goal is to give you practical tools that will actually make you industry ready. So that's why we kept that material in, but we won't test you specifically on the paid version of Excel.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Um,
Hello, sir.
yeah,
Sir, I have doubt regarding the import HTML, sir.
on week 2, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Can
we'll
you
get to that.
take
Yeah,
now or in some time
yeah,
after?
yeah. I'll come to that. No
Okay,
issues.
sir.
Right. So next thing is we were down here, right? CSS selectors. So there are a couple of ways to achieve this. Okay. Here, so if you've looked at week 2 content, you will probably understand this. And so what I'll do is I'll do it as if it was week 2 content. I know this is GA0, but the reason we gave this question is so that you will know for yourself if you understand how CSS selectors work. Okay. Um, so that's why the question was asked. But the way we would typically solve such a question is to use week 2 content, which is JavaScript. Um, so another way to do it, if you're not using JavaScript, would have been to use a library called Beautiful Soup, and I will demonstrate that next, most likely next TA session. Okay. So today what I'll do is I'll show you how to go about it using uh, the JavaScript. So I go. What is it? Right. So there is a very good video in week 2 where Anand sir shows how to do this using JavaScript. So there's this function called dollar dollar. Okay. And so, okay, before I even do that, let me. So all I did was hit inspect, get the dev tools, go to console part of the dev tools, and then you see this little arrow. So this is like your terminal console, but in the browser. Okay. And here you can type some JavaScript and it will execute. So it's similar to running Node.js on your local machine. Same sort of thing. Okay. So here, dollar dollar is a short form for, I think, query select document dot query selector all or something like that. Okay. All it does is you can select elements using JavaScript. So in this case, we are looking for uh, div tags, okay, that have the foo class. So the way you would do that is, so div tags. So if you did not know what div tags were, these are HTML tags, right? Sorry, this second screen that I'm using has a very low resolution. So there are these tags, div tags, okay, and it has an attribute called class, and so the one we are looking for is ones that have the class called foo. Okay, so it will say class equal to and in quotes foo. So that's what we are looking for. So the way we do it is we say div dot foo, and then this will give you. So if I just choose this, for example, so this will give. This is saying in this document there are 4 items that have 4 div tags that have the class foo in it. See that? Four items. So, but that's not all we are asking, right? And this is the other beauty of using the console. In real time, you can see what's happening. So that's a really wonderful thing. So, okay, but we want direct children of div class having foo. So the way we do that is, this gives you div class foo or those tags. What are the direct children? So the way we do that is we say, we use this arrow which tells direct children and what we want, everything. So everything. So now we've got all of these. Okay, that's great. Make this a bit bigger so you can see. Okay, but we want data value attributes. Okay, so let's inspect what this. So you can see this is an array, right, of items that it has picked up. So let's have a quick look at what this array has. So one way is you could just hit enter and then look at the array like this. Okay, and you can see there are all these div tags in there, and each of these will contain all sorts of things in here. Various again key value pairs, and there are attributes, and inside attributes are data values, and inside data value is the value, right? So that's what we want. Node value, you can say, or value, either way. So the question is, how do we access this, right? It's nice that we can get all of these. So let's try that again. So let's say, so if I do say, for example, 0, you get the first element. Okay, and then if I say, I think it is called, and still get attribute. So if I do get attribute, then I do, I think it's called data value. No, it's called attributes only, I think. Attributes. Nope. But you noticed as I tried different things, that doesn't work, right? So it's attributes, data value, node value. Okay. So if you look on here, so this gives us an array, right? And this is so in JavaScript you have something. It's a way of piping information from one function to another. So after this produces the array, there's a function called map, which takes, so what map does is, it takes each of these elements, and you can see that. So it's similar to that lambda function we saw earlier. So this is a kind of a lambda function, but for JavaScript. So I'm saying each of these items, I want you to do something with them. What do I want you to do? I want you to extract, remember I showed you attributes earlier? So let me go back to what we were doing. This one, right? So I say attributes, ATTRIBS, no. We wanted each element, right? So let's do 0, attributes, yeah. So you can see it's coming here, right? Attributes, right? So notice as soon as I said attributes, so this is the first element, attributes, and inside there is data value, right? So there's a key value pair, data value, right? And if I look at this, I got what I wanted, right? But I don't want to do this tedious task of doing them one by one. So that's why I use the map function, right? Which is like a lambda function. So I'm saying once I get this whole list, which is what this part got, put that into this mapping function or lambda function, pick each item, what I want to do with each item. I want to item dot attributes, which is exactly this. See, this is item 0 attributes. I want the data value, and then I said within that I wanted the node value as well. So then I get an array like this, right? So I'm pushing them all into an array like this. So I did that. And then I can copy this array. How do I copy it? So there's a simple function we can use for this as well. I put this whole thing into a bracket, okay? And then I say copy. I think it's copy anyway. And let's see if this worked. Yeah. Notice what happened? So when I use the copy function, It stores it in your clipboard, and then you can just paste it in. And this is a list, right? So you got the values that you wanted. So that's one way to extract it. Now you can, so if there were thousands of them, you could just run a loop now on it, intify it, and then sum it up, right? But that's all it was. So how do I know this, right? Which is, so first of all, you need to, so the reason for this question is you need to know how CSS selectors work. That's the first thing this question is trying to identify to you. Get to know how CSS selectors work. Understand what tags are, understand how attributes are, understand the relationships, how you get the relationships between various selectors. And a good source for this, okay, a good source for this is this resource. MDN CSS selectors, yeah, that one. This is a fantastic source to learn that. If you learn this, right, you will become very good at understanding first of all, how CSS selectors work, and you will know how to get items using CSS, various CSS selectors. So it really goes through the whole. So this section, you see, CSS building blocks. So it explains what CSS selectors are, and then it goes through this whole process. And at the bottom, yeah. So here's an example, right? You can, how do you select? So these are, so this selects the tag article, its direct children that are paragraphs, you know. So that's an example of how it works. And it takes you through the whole process. It's not very lengthy or difficult to understand. It's actually very simple. I highly urge you, for the sake of your exams, your quizzes, and ROE, this section, if you learn this section up to, let's say, possibly till here, cascade layers. From here to here, possibly. Let me see what cascade layers is. Do you need cascade layers? No, probably not. So not even cascade layers, okay? If you learn up till, I don't even think you need this. Yeah, you don't need this. Combinators, yeah. Okay. So if you start at CSS building blocks, CSS selectors, type class, attribute selectors, pseudo classes, and combinators. If you just do these sections, that's more than enough for TDS. Okay. Because we are not trying to get you to be style experts. We want to be able to do what? Extract data. And to learn how to extract data, if you know only this much, that's more than sufficient. Okay. I'd like some responses if possible.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So that's that. Second thing that we are trying to get you to learn, and this will be very useful for you to learn, is learn, we don't want you to become experts at JavaScript either. All we want you to do, and for that reason, this video. So everything I showed you just now comes out of this video. Scraping IMDb with browser JavaScript, this video, right? If you watch that video, work through the example with Anand sir. I highly recommend you do that. Was hoping I could show you. Yes. If you work through that video, you will eventually come out with this. Okay. Right now, this might not make sense to you. Okay. But this is a cheat sheet. Okay. I won't give this to you. The reason I won't give this to you is I want you to understand how this works, and you will understand how this works after watching that video. Work through it with him, and you will begin to understand. So you can see what I showed you, the document selector. Here is the tag and the class. Actually, in fact, this is the class that is being looked for. And then it brings out a list of items, an array of items. Then we use the map function. And each of those items, we're extracting, we're extracting some information from that item. What are we extracting? So again, within that, again, he's using a query selector. and looking for certain things. If you learn this is a cheat sheet, like I said. If you learn this, what this is doing exactly, you will be able to do well in ROE because you will be able to deal with any sort of stuff that comes your way. So right now it looks scary, but it's not. It's actually very easy. You just have to go through that video. Okay, very highly recommended video. It will help you. Okay. Okay. So that was G0. So
Okay,
that's what
that
this was
was
meant. Yeah,
that
sorry.
video was scraping through using JavaScript, right? That
Yes, yes,
video. Okay, okay,
yeah. And we've done a little bit of that here. Okay.
understood.
This same thing can also be done without JavaScript. Now the question might be, well, why do we need to learn? So, okay, that's the next thing I wanted to tell. We don't want you to learn all the ins and outs of JavaScript. We are not trying to make you JavaScript programmers. What we want you to do is learn that cheat sheet like I showed you. Because that cheat sheet is an example of how you can get data out of the web page. That's all we want you to be able to do. Remove the data from the web page. In that regards, that's the only sort of JavaScript really we need you to kind of get a hold of. Because what you want out of a web page, you want an array. If you get an array, then you can process it in Python, right? No problem. Same way you want to
Yes.
sum up or anything, right? So once you get the data out, then you can use whatever tool you're comfortable. You can even use Excel or Google Sheets, anything. The key is to get the data. So that's all we need as far as JavaScript is concerned. The second thing is there are some pages that are dynamically generated. So what happens is the page comes to you, and I'll explain this next class. The page comes to you, but it doesn't have any information in there. But after it comes to you, there is some script running in the background that produces the data. So when that is the case, those kind of pages, it is very difficult to extract information using Beautiful Soup. For most cases, Beautiful Soup helps wonderfully for extracting data. But in those dynamically generated pages, Beautiful Soup doesn't work. So what do you do in that case? So in that case, because the page is visible in your browser, that's when you can use the magic of JavaScript to extract that information. Because JavaScript can see everything that's happened in the DOM. So that's why we want you to learn that. It's a very important skill.
Sorry,
You given
we can also use the cookies, no, for that kind of process to
Uh,
doing script.
So cookies might not necessarily have what you're looking for, right? Some of it might be generated without using the cookies, right?
Okay.
The script might generate the data. It might not come through a cookie.
Oh,
It might do an asynchronous fetch. Then where will the cookie be involved? No cookie, right? So that's why. That's the reason. Or it might be a piped information. So there may be a stream that comes in, sends the information through the fetch request, and then a script handles the data to come onto your web page. So in those situations, a cookie won't have the information you're looking for. So that's why we need you to learn a little bit of JavaScript, not a lot, just enough to extract the data.
okay.
So those are the elements. Learn the CSS selector because everything on the page will be inside a tag. Once you know it's inside a tag, how to get those items, and within those items, every tag, because no matter what script is used, eventually it has to end up on your screen. And the only way it will end up on your screen is in one of these tags. At the end, it all ends up in a tag somewhere. Yeah. And because it ends up in a tag, you can use JavaScript to extract that information. So that is all the JavaScript you need. Extract information out of a tag. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what this question was trying to do. Help you point you to the deficiencies you might have that you have to work on. Okay. So do you guys understand HTTP requests? How this works?
Yeah, could you explain this, sir? 'Cause I know HTTP request, but when I go to solve this question, then the answer is wrong. Like,
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll show you another cool thing you should have. This is again another beauty of having VS Code. So VS Code, you can install all sorts of extensions. I highly recommend this one. It's called Thunder Client. If you go to this so on your screen, it might be on the left side. Most default installations of VS Code, this bar comes on the left side. So, but I customized it this way. Okay, so on yours it might be on there, but look for this. It says extensions. When you click on this button, extensions, look for this. It's called Thunder Client. Can you see this over here, Thunder Client?
yeah, yeah. I use
Yes,
this.
yes.
Yeah. So once you install this, then what you'll get is you'll get a window like this, and here you can create requests. Okay. So I'll show you an example. Well, we'll solve this question that you said you had a difficulty with. Side. So you'll get a window like this. You create a new request, and it works kind of like a browser. But actually, what you're doing is you're sending some data requests. Okay, it's sort of like a browser, but it's more powerful than a browser. In a browser, you can only send GET requests, and if you have the web page, you can send a POST request. Whereas with Thunder Client, you're able to use the whole gamut of things that uh, the HTTP protocol allows you to use. So let's look at the question. So the question says, send a HTTP post request to HTTPS. So we have to send a post request to this address. So let's copy this address. And paste it in here. Okay, that's good. We want a post request as a post request. Okay, that's good. What else do we need? With the URL encoded parameter email. Okay. So this is probably where most people make the mistake. So what is a URL encoded parameter? So when you send something in the URL, sometimes you will notice on websites there'll be this like this question mark, something like this will be there, right? So that's because you're sending some data to the website and it's coded in the URL. Okay. But to type it out here is quite tedious. Okay. You can type it out here, but because we're using this tool called Thunder Client, I'll show you an easy way to do it. So you're basically sending a query. Okay. And so then what I do is I'll put the parameter here. So the first parameter was email. Notice how at the top here it gave the question mark and email automatically. So we do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
And then I'll copy this. Uh, do that. Okay. So notice it's like a key value pair. There's the key equal to and the value. And then the next parameter is salt. Salt. And then there is this. Now you could do this without using Thunder Client. No issues. But this is much easier, right? So the parameters have been put in here. If you look, it's and how does it so this is useful to know. Although so you can see it put a question mark, it put email, it put what I wanted. Then see the next parameter, it says uses this symbol, the ampersand symbol, and then puts the next key value pair. Okay, so that's how you are. So this is important. The keyword is important. The jargon is important. This is a URL encoded parameter. Okay. Um, the common mistake we found most students do is they will go into headers and put it here. Right. So that's not where you put URL encoded parameter. That's you can send information to the website using these, but we are still using URL encoded. So URL encoded is basically either with question mark and the key value pair, or you put it into query parameters. Okay, let's see the magic of this. So we send it.
So where do you get
Response.
this new request from?
Sorry,
This new request, this window has opened from where we got this.
where this came from?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
what you're asking? This came from this
yeah, yeah.
website. So this website, I put this
So
address here, right? This
we
response
have we
came
have
from.
created one. What I want to know is we have created one new tab as new request beside this extension Thunder and like that.
Yeah. So when I
Yeah.
click new
So where did
request,
you get?
you're asking about this
Yeah, this new
extension
request
itself.
left side. Yeah, yeah.
So if I say new request, it creates a new request.
No, understand. But where from this new request page is coming actually?
Where is it coming from?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the extension. This
See, like we
extension.
got the extension I have installed. Now, where
Yes.
from it is coming? I'm not able to go to that new request. I'm not finding the tab
Oh,
actually.
right, right. Oh, right. Try and look in. So what I did was I went to view
No,
appearance.
in window there is the icon na, there is the extension icon, just click and there is the option for
Yeah,
new request.
yeah. So okay, yeah, might be. So for me, what I've done is I've set it up this way. But you will have a little. So these icons are there, right, on the left side usually in your thing.
Hmm.
There will One of them might be Thunder Client. It'll be like a little lightning bolt. It will be.
Okay,
Do you
okay.
see that on your system?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Got it.
Actually, what if we send the request by body?
So
Because
yeah, so, you can send a JSON body, XML content, anything you can send. It's like a
yeah, I
very
send by
powerful.
this, but I send by this body, but my answer is wrong.
Yes, it will be wrong because that's what's not what was required, right? What was required is
Okay,
you have to send it using the URL encoded
okay,
parameter,
okay,
right?
okay. Thanks.
And we'll test this out now, right? So we sent this and it says, so the question was, what is the value of the content length HTTP header? So let's look at that. So this is we look in headers, content length 162, right? So let's use that value and see if that is correct. 162. Let's check. Hey, I got one more mark. So I worked, right?
Yeah,
But if I used it elsewhere, right, the response changes. If I don't use it here, and let's say, for example, I use it here, for example, right? So we put again the same things, email, and I'll just copy paste it. That's better. Let's see. Copy, paste, and salt. So if I send this, notice what happened. It's different, right? The response is different. The previous one was 162 or something, right? This one is different. So the answer is wrong, right? Because I'm using something different to send the data.
yeah. This is
And
the header.
yeah, so same thing. If I use a body also, it will be different, right? Because body is a different part of the HTTP protocol. So if I send it via JSON, email, uh, copy.
Sir, in ROE also can we check answers like this, like as it is in GA?
Sorry, could you repeat that question again?
Sir, in ROE also, do we have an option to check the answers like this? No, of
No,
course, right?
no, no. You will not be able to
No,
check
but if
the
it is
answers.
objective, I understand they won't give. But if it is like this, that's why I was asking. Okay.
Uh, I mean,
No,
you
for
won't be able
objective,
to.
I understand they cannot give. But I'm asking like these kind of questions, like they won't,
But
right?
this is not subjective, right? This is asking a very precise thing, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so let's see what the response here is. Notice the response is not the correct answer, even though I sent it through a
Yeah.
JSON, right? So it's different, right? So that's why. Whereas if I choose this and remove this, now the answer is different, right? So that's why. So this is very powerful, okay? This you can use
Uh,
for anything. So
right.
let's say, for example, I use, I don't know, so let's say Google or something. It's basically like a browser, but it's programmatic. See, it shows up, but you can see this is the important bit. If I this is a preview, but if I say response, you can actually see what is actually coming, what data is actually coming, and this is powerful. This tool is very powerful. You look at the headers, you can see okay, these are the headers. You can see the cookies. You can see all this information here, and so that's how it works. Okay. A very useful tool, Thunder Client. Make sure you have it. It will be useful for you in GAs, ROEs, possibly.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
So I used Postman to solve this. Okay.
yeah, okay,
And while giving the parameters, no. So if I right click that value, I am getting one, what to say, one option like encode URI component.
okay,
Okay. So after giving the email ID, I actually used that encode URI component.
okay.
Then I sent it because in question they have asked like that, no?
Yeah, I mean, that's the technical word, but what it means is when I say, for example, salt, it should come like this. This is what it means. So, URL encode. This is called URL
No,
encoding.
after I do this, no, what
Yeah,
was happening is, shall I share my screen so that it will
yeah,
be
yeah. Of
visible?
course. Yeah,
No?
you can.
Okay, just
Let me stop sharing mine. So another thing
so
that
here, my screen visible?
yes,
Okay, so this is my email which I have put.
okay,
So see, there is a at the rate I am putting here. Okay,
okay.
so after I do right click encode URI component.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
You have to put exactly what was there.
Okay, so after I did that, see that at the rate
It will,
symbol
yeah,
actually
it will,
got
yeah, that
changed.
will,
But
yes.
the thing is, even without doing this, the answer is coming same. The number is same actually. So,
Might be, I don't know, but what we require is
So the at the rate has encoded in the percent 40, na? So I think that recognize it.
uh,
yeah,
so at the rate, this all are correct means counted as same, I guess. So,
yeah.
fine,
But
sir.
yeah, you have to put it exactly the query parameters in. That's exactly how you
Okay,
have to do.
because in question they specifically mentioned encode URI component, no?
Yeah, yeah. But what
So,
that means is what I explained, which is when
okay.
it's that word URL encoded parameter,
Mm.
what that means is putting it in that query
Fine, sir.
up there. So that's what the jargon means.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. I'll stop
Okay.
sharing now.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Um,
One request. Could you please
yeah.
just explain a bit on this HTTP requests and what is this? I don't have much of a background of this. If you can just
Okay.
help me.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Um, let me, right, let me just give me a second here. Okay. I hope I hope you can see my screen. Mm,
Yeah.
okay, so effectively, what happens is um, when you open a browser, okay, um, and you enter some URL over here, okay, Google or something. Oops, sorry. Uh, and you hit enter. What actually happens is the browser is sending, so it's using a protocol. Okay, this protocol is called HTTP, and it was a protocol designed for communications on the internet. And it's a sort of an agreement that everyone has made. We will use this one protocol to do communications around the world. The history behind it is quite interesting. It's partly because when the internet was first being developed, various universities were doing their own thing. Okay, so each research lab was doing their own thing, and it was networking was a fairly new thing. So everyone had their own protocol or their own rules that they were using to send information. So obviously, these various systems could not talk to each other. Right? What made the internet truly powerful was they all agreed on the standard, and so this is one of those standards that they used. Okay, uh, and so when you send this request, what it's doing is it's sending some information using a GET request, and it's going to some server somewhere. Okay, some server somewhere. This request, when you type www.google.com,
Hmm.
it's sending this request to the server. So then the server looks at the request and sees which computer it came from and sends you back the page that you wanted. Okay, so that's what a
Okay.
GET request is. So along with this GET request, it sends lots of bits of information. So it may send, for example, it will send the IP address. That's like your home address. So it's telling where to send the information to. It will send some more details. It will say, for example, what browser you are using. Okay, because some different browsers may have some different peculiarities. So the server on this end, okay,
Hmm.
might need to send you some custom code depending on your browser. Okay, so so that's what the GET request might have, and many other things. Some information is encoded in that GET request, and there are more than one kind of request. Okay, so I told you about the GET request. There's also what's called a POST request. Okay, a POST request is where you're sending along with with your normal request, you're sending some information that's like in an envelope. Okay, when you send a GET request, it's as if you're writing on top of the envelope. But when you're sending a POST request, it's like the word implies, you're putting some information inside the envelope, which typically no one else can see.
Okay.
So as it's traveling the network, everyone can see the GET request. But when it's inside this POST request, what's inside the envelope, no one can see. They can only see whom you're sending it to, and that's all they can see. So that's what the difference is between a GET and a POST request. Now, the response that you get back from the server will depend on the type of request you send it. So typically POST requests, when you fill up forms on the internet, that's usually when that kind of information usually goes in a POST request. And what happens there, and the reason why I'm explaining this and it's useful to know, is when you send a POST request, it usually goes in the form of a JSON body. So that's how, so you'll send, sorry. So it will usually go in the form of a JSON body. So some key value pairs will be there. Oh my word. Key value. Some key value pairs will be there. So you're sending data like this, like a dictionary. And that's what usually how it will go in a JSON. So it will go in a POST request. Um, and the response you get back from the server this response that you get back will also usually be, if you specify to the server, when I say you, I'm talking about the application, right? So when the application specifies to the server, okay, when you send me a response, also send me the response back as a JSON body. So then you will also get back something in a JSON body. And why is this useful? Because then you can do some processing on it on your end. So that's how it works. So that's what quick overview of what get and post requests. There are other requests also, delete and put and all. If you want to know the details concerning that, then there is a good site for that as well. And it's again on that MDN, the one I shared with you earlier. Is a good explanation about these things if you